I want you to play a really quick mental game before we get into anything else today.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's incredibly simple, but it's really going to set the tone for this entire deep dive. I want you to rate your life in 2026 so far on a scale of 1 to 10.
Just whatever gut reaction comes up.
Right, take a second. You got a number in your head? Good. But here's the catch. You can't choose 7.
Which completely throws a wrench into the whole thing.
It disrupts the entire game. And that fascinating thought experiment comes to us from our source material today. We're looking at a YouTube video from the channel Speak English with Class.
It's called How to Change Your Life, 2026 Comeback.
Exactly. And on the surface, like if you just glance at the thumbnail, this source is designed as a high-level English learning tool.
Right, for non-native speakers.
Yeah, but when you actually peel back the layers and listen to what's being said, it is packed with some of the most profound psychological insights about human behavior, our daily habits, and what it actually takes to orchestrate a true comeback.
What's fascinating here is the sheer psychological precision of removing that specific number. Like, you have to ask yourself, why 7? Why not bam 5 or 8?
Right, why 7?
It's because 7 is the ultimate safe number in the human psyche. If someone asks how you're doing and you say, I'm a 7, what you're really communicating is that life is fine.
It's not a disaster, but it's not great.
Exactly. It essentially translates to, please leave me alone. I do not want to examine my life too deeply right now.
It's the universal number of evasion.
Yeah.
It's the number you pick when you just want to fly under the radar of your own self-reflection.
And when you take 7 off the table, you force a moment of radical honesty. You compel someone to make a definitive choice about the actual trajectory of their year.
Because you either have to go up or down.
Right. The source gives 2 great examples of this uncomfortable reality. You might say you're a 5.5. That is a quiet admission that you are doing some good things, keeping the lights on, but ultimately you are playing it entirely safe.
You aren't stepping into your full story.
Exactly. Or you might choose a 6. A 6 means your days are objectively okay, you are surviving the week, but you know deep down that if you keep living exactly like this, you are heading straight toward a profound sense of disappointment by December.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because that realization leads straight into what the source poses as a truly brutal question.
It hits incredibly hard.
It really does. It's a quiet crowd, but if you're sitting alone with it, if nothing changes, if you do not do a single thing differently starting tomorrow, and you reach December with that exact same number, would you be okay with that?
The tragic reality for so many people is that their conscious mind screams an absolute no to that question.
But their daily habits are answering yes.
Every single day, yes?
And that disconnect between what we want and what we actually do introduces a major theme in the source, which is the hidden danger of complacency.
Which requires us to completely redefine our concept of failure.
How so?
Well, people generally operate under the assumption that if they're failing at something, it's because life is simply too difficult, the hurdles are just too high.
Right, we blame external factors.
But the source points out a much more insidious truth about human nature. We aren't usually failing because life is too hard. We're failing because our current life is just a little too comfortable.
It's too comfortable to force a change, but too uncomfortable to be truly fulfilled.
And that tension brings us to the first key piece of vocabulary we need to highlight from the source, which is complacent.
Complacent.
When you become complacent, you have acquired just enough to survive without panic. Your job pays the bills, your relationships don't have massive conflicts, your daily routine gets you to Friday.
You're wrapped in this blanket of comfort.
Yes. And because of that warmth, you completely stop fighting to grow. The hunger just evaporates.
The source uses a phenomenal analogy for this complacency. They call it living life on low battery mode.
Oh, that's such a perfect description.
I think everyone listening can immediately identify that feeling. You look around and nothing in your life is actively on fire, which sounds like a victory.
Right, no emergencies.
But the fatal flaw is that nothing is burning with passion either. You are just operating on this bare minimum power-saving setting. Your screen is dim, your processing speed is sluggish.
Everything technically functions, but it all functions without any real spark. And the real danger of this state is how it sneaks up on you.
Because no one sits down on January 1st, opens a fresh journal, and writes, "My primary goal this year is to live a thoroughly average, gray, forgettable life."
No one does that.
Instead, you experience what the source describes as drifting into something.
Drifting is such a precise word for this phenomenon because it implies a total lack of active resistance. You aren't driving the car, you've just taken your hands off the wheel.
And you let the subtle incline of the road decide where you end up.
Exactly.
You slowly slide into this average life through a series of tiny, easily justifiable decisions. It's rarely one massive catastrophic choice that derails a year.
It's waking up on a Tuesday and negotiating with yourself.
Yeah, saying, I'll skip studying today, I'm just a bit drained from the commute, and then the next day becomes, I'll definitely start outlining that big creative project next month when things quiet down.
Or I'll have that difficult boundary-setting conversation after the holidays.
Those tiny deferrals compound rapidly. They feel like drops of water, but suddenly you're drowning in a delayed life.
You look up from your routine, and an entire calendar year has simply vanished into the ether.
So I want you to genuinely consider this right now. Have you looked at the calendar recently? You see that it clearly prints 2026. But if you audit your daily habits, your routines, the specific fears holding you back.
Are you secretly still living like it's 2023?
Exactly. Are you running your daily life on the exact same obsolete software you were using 3 years ago because you drifted into a complacent routine?
If the answer is yes, the source doesn't want you to panic and spiral.
Right. There's hope.
It offers a radical shift in perspective to snap you out of that drift, and it begins with some shockingly counterintuitive advice for a video about making a comeback.
The shocking good news from the source. You are going to fail.
It sounds incredibly defeatist at first glance, right? Why would a guide to changing your life start by assuring you that failure is imminent?
It feels backwards.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it makes perfect sense. They make a crucial structural distinction between dreams and actual plans.
Dreams without structure are just like clouds. That is the exact phrasing they use, and it paints such a clear picture.
Clouds are beautiful to look at. You can lay on the grass and stare at them all day, but they do not actually move your life a single inch forward.
They just float by.
You can lay in bed and dream up a spectacular new version of yourself every single night, but without a rigid structure to support that vision, you're going to wake up as the exact same person every morning.
And part of building that necessary structure is accepting failure as a built-in, unavoidable feature of the growth process.
Rather than a catastrophic bug.
Exactly. If you know you are going to fall short of your goals sometimes, and falling short of something is another highly descriptive phrase they highlight, you strip away the shock value.
You aren't blindsided when things get hard. The true psychological danger isn't the physical act of falling short.
What is it then?
The danger lies entirely in the narrative you construct in your head immediately after you fall short. It's the split-second moment you decide what your failure signifies.
The source gives a highly relatable example of this. Let's say you study hard, but you still fail a certification exam.
Which happens to the best of us.
If you look at that result and say, okay, I failed one exam because I didn't grasp Chapter 4, that is reality. You are dealing with facts.
Right.
But if you look at that failure and decide, this means I am fundamentally stupid and incapable, you have entered the danger zone.
You've taken a temporary, localized setback and permanently tied it to your core identity.
And when you make that leap from a failed event to a failed identity, the effort completely stops.
You retreat back to the safety of complacency. To defend against this, the source introduces a vital strategy encapsulated in a single word: anticipate.
Anticipate. To expect something before it happens and actively prepare for it.
It's about cultivating a brutal realism regarding your own weaknesses. We have to stop pretending we're going to be highly motivated, hyper-productive superheroes 24 hours a day.
It's just not realistic.
Instead, you map out your weak moments and build safety nets.
The practical applications they offer for this are fantastic. Let's say you know for an absolute fact that you are always completely drained and exhausted after your evening commute.
Do not plan to do your hardest cognitive tasks at 7 p.m.
You are setting yourself up to fall short. Anticipate that fatigue, acknowledge it's real, and shift those vital tasks to the early morning before the day drains your battery.
Or, and I think everyone can relate to this one, if you know that Sunday afternoon is consistently your existential dread hour.
The universal Sunday afternoon feeling. The creeping dread of the week ahead, where you just find yourself staring blankly into the open refrigerator.
Hoping the mayonnaise has answers to your life's problems.
Yes, exactly that feeling. If you know that specific dread arrives every Sunday at 4 p.m., anticipate it.
Don't just let yourself sit on the couch and start doom scrolling on your phone.
Let the algorithm make you feel worse.
Yeah.
Plan a walk in advance. Schedule a standing phone call with a friend for that exact time. Build a structure that catches you when you already know you're going to stumble.
Because if you refuse to build those anticipatory structures, you end up contributing to what the Source describes with one of its darkest yet most unforgettable metaphors, the idea graveyard.
The idea graveyard. This visual is haunting.
It's the waiting room inside your own brain. You can almost see the dusty chairs and the old magazines, all of your ambitions, your creative projects, your desperate desires to change your life.
They're all just sitting in those chairs.
Constantly raising their hands and asking, "Excuse me, is it my turn yet? Are we going to do this?"
And the absolute tragedy, as the Source points out, is that so many people will reach the end of their lives with the vast majority of those beautiful ideas still just sitting in that waiting room.
Never realize.
Gathering dust and eventually expiring. Because the person never built the daily structure required to bring them out of the brain and into the real world.
It's a profoundly sobering thought. That waiting room is a quiet kind of tragedy. But the Source doesn't just deal with the quiet, slow tragedies of drifting. It also tackles the loud ones.
The moments when the waiting room itself completely collapses.
Exactly.
That brings us to the reality of hitting rock bottom. The Source does not sugarcoat this reality for a second. Sometimes you don't just fall short a little bit on a Tuesday.
So sometimes you hit a point where the floor gives out and everything collapses.
Money, health, relationships, your mental well-being, maybe all of them fracturing at exactly the same time.
The specific vocabulary word they pair with this deep foundational collapse is devastate. I want to linger on this word because it is so much heavier than being sad or upset.
It is.
To be devastated comes from the concept of laying waste to something. It is a scorched earth emotional state. You are hit so incredibly hard that you feel completely hollowed out, broken, and stunned.
When you are existing in that devastated state, staring up from rock bottom, the absolute last thing you need is the modern culture of toxic positivity.
Just smile.
Yeah.
Good vibes only. Everything happens for a reason.
The Source is fiercely clear that this kind of sanitized fake positivity actually inflicts more damage in those moments. You do not need a fake smile when you are devastated.
You need a gritty, realistic plan to claw your way back.
Let's look at that phrase, claw your way back. It's an incredibly intentional choice of words.
It conjures a visceral, physical image. When you're at the bottom, you aren't gracefully floating back to the top on a cloud of good thoughts.
You aren't waiting for an elevator.
You are using your bare hands, getting dirt under your fingernails, scraping and fighting for every single inch of progress out of that hole.
That kind of authentic comeback is deeply non-aesthetic. It is not going to look good on social media.
It's rarely a beautifully lit montage with an inspiring cinematic soundtrack playing in the background.
It's incredibly messy.
Yeah.
And often feels humiliating. It's made up of tiny, unglamorous steps, like forcing yourself to type out and send that one single email that makes your chest tight with anxiety.
Or sitting down at your desk to study for just 10 minutes when your brain is practically screaming at you to go to sleep and hide.
It's forcing yourself to fold the laundry when your mind feels like absolute chaos.
It also demands profound vulnerability. A real comeback might look like sending a 2 a.m. text to a friend, or even a 2 p.m. text from a locked bathroom stall at work saying, "I am crying, I am overwhelmed, and I am not okay."
That unsanitized vulnerability is how you find out who actually cares about the messy reality of your comeback, not just the people waiting to validate your polished success photos.
But those messy microactions look so insignificant from the outside, while internally they require a monumental expenditure of effort.
Right, so the natural question arises, where do we find the energy to keep clawing our way back when we are already starting from a place of total devastation?
The Source offers a deeply philosophical answer to this problem of energy purpose. The fundamental realization that your life and your comeback cannot solely be about you.
If your entire motivation for a comeback is purely self-centered, if it is only about getting your own body in shape, or accumulating more money for your own comfort, or proving to your ex that you are successful.
You are going to burn through your fuel reserves. You'll get tired very, very fast.
Because when you live exclusively for your own comfort, you ironically become highly sensitive to discomfort. Every small obstacle on the road back feels like a massive personal injustice.
But when you attach your strenuous effort to something larger than yourself, the pain actually changes shape.
The pain changes shape. That is such a powerful way to frame it. The difficulty doesn't magically disappear, but its meaning transforms.
Maybe you're clawing your way back to provide stability for your family. Maybe you're doing it to be a better teacher for your students.
Or maybe, as the Source beautifully mirrors, You are just living for strangers on the internet who might stumble across a comment you leave about your own struggles.
And suddenly they feel less insane and alone in their own dark moments.
When you adopt the mindset of, if I heal myself, if I force myself to grow, I will gain the capacity to actually help someone else out of this exact same hole.
You tap into a completely different reservoir of endurance. You can sustain the messy, unglamorous work of clawing your way back because it is no longer just a vanity project for your ego. It's become about your utility to others.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because once you lock into that purpose and once you start executing those messy daily steps, you are actually engaging in the most crucial mechanical step of the entire comeback process.
Breaking out of a pattern.
Breaking out of a pattern.
A pattern is just a trap that we have decorated to look comfortable. The source perfectly dissects the most common trap we fall into year after year.
The endless cycle of massive excitement, followed by absolutely zero structural planning, which inevitably leads to crushing guilt.
We have all lived that cycle. This is finally the year I read a novel. You ride the high of the idea, but you don't make an outline. You don't block out writing hours on your calendar.
And by mid-March, you just feel a wave of guilt every single time you look at your laptop sitting on the desk.
Or consider the pattern of waiting for the perfect time. We tell ourselves we are waiting until our skills are a bit sharper, or until the drama calms down at work, or until the kids are older.
But the perfect time is a myth. It never arrives, and another year evaporates. Breaking out of that pattern requires a conscious refusal to live the exact same year on repeat.
And importantly, breaking the pattern does not mean you will suddenly stop falling down. You will absolutely still make mistakes.
Right.
But the source introduces a vital distinction here. The mechanical difference between falling backward and falling forward.
Falling forward.
This is a masterclass in mindset shifting. When you fall backward, you encounter a failure, feel the sting of it, and use it as an undeniable excuse to retreat.
You fall back into your old, safe, complacent identity.
You tell yourself the narrative we discussed earlier. See, I knew I was an imposter. I shouldn't have even tried to change. Let me just go back to my small, safe life where I don't get hurt.
But falling forward operates on an entirely different set of physics.
When you fall forward, let's be absolutely clear, you still hit the ground. Your ego still takes a massive hit.
You still fall.
But because of your forward momentum, because of your aggressive posture toward the goal, you land just a little bit closer to the finish line than you were before you tripped.
They provide a fantastic, highly relatable, practical example of this regarding learning a new language. Let's say you decide to break your pattern of silence and speak up in a high-stakes meeting at work.
You make a glaring grammatical mistake. You freeze up, your face gets hot, you feel humiliated.
That is the fall. If you fall backward, you take that burning feeling of embarrassment and let it forge a wall of permanent silence. You vow to never speak up in a meeting again.
But if you fall forward, you take that exact same burning feeling and let it illuminate the structure you messed up.
You look at the mistake and say, okay, that was brutal, but now I fundamentally understand why that sentence structure didn't work. I am taking that knowledge with me.
You have extracted tangible value from the impact. You are using the kinetic energy of the failure as forward propulsion.
And if you can sustain this cycle, if you relentlessly anticipate your moments of weakness, if you claw your way back from the devastated moments with a larger purpose, and if you continually choose the painful friction of falling forward,
you eventually reach the ultimate realization of the comeback. You rise from the ashes.
You rise from the ashes.
It invokes the classic enduring metaphor of the phoenix.
The imagery is so potent because it requires destruction. The old version of you, the 2025 version, the complacent version, the version that chose to drift rather than steer, has to burn away.
All those old, safe contingency plans and that old, small, easily bruised identity have to be entirely consumed in the fire of your new effort.
It is inherently painful to let that old, comfortable self burn. It is terrifying to let go of the excuses that kept you safe.
But it is entirely necessary, because only from the ashes of those old excuses can a stronger, braver, more resilient version of you finally stand up.
A version that is no longer paralyzed by the fear of failure because they have mastered the art of navigating the fall.
So true.
So what does this all mean for you right now? We have covered a massive amount of psychological ground today, unpacking this incredibly dense source material.
They really have.
We've examined the quiet danger of drifting on low battery mode. We've dissected the absolute necessity of anticipating your failures before they happen. We explored the gritty reality of clawing your way back from rock bottom and the absolute requirement to take your momentum and fall forward.
The overarching takeaway is that these phrases anticipate, claw your way back, rise from the ashes are far more than just interesting vocabulary words to memorize for an exam.
They represent a comprehensive toolkit.
They are the instruments you use to dismantle a complacent life and build a structured, purposeful one.
To help you actually apply these tools to your own reality, the source left us with 3 highly practical, grounding questions. I strongly encourage you to pull out a journal tonight, sit with these for just 5 minutes, and be radically, uncomfortably honest with yourself.
Go for it.
Number 1, where in your life did you drift into a situation you do not actually want? Number 2, where did you hit rock bottom, or where are you currently feeling that sense of devastation? And number 3, the most vital, action-oriented question. What is one specific way you can choose to fall forward this week?
This raises an important question, and it ties back to a really creative exercise mentioned near the end of the source. They ask our viewers to look back at their last 2 months and give that period of time a movie title.
Like Still Scared, Still Trying, or The Quiet Comeback. It's a brilliant way to force a summary of your current trajectory.
It condenses your reality into a theme. But I want to build on that concept and pose a final thought for you to really mull over. We have established that your quiet, everyday habits, the tiny, seemingly insignificant things you do when absolutely no one is watching, are secretly deciding whether you're a 5, a 6, or an 8 for the year.
Right.
But what if you took that awareness a step further? What if you viewed every single micro action you take today, not just as a mundane chore you have to get through, but as casting a definitive, undeniable vote for the genre of your 2026 movie?
That is a fascinating way to look at microhabits.
Yeah.
It elevates the mundane into something incredibly cinematic.
Think about the gravity of that. When you choose to skip the difficult work and stay wrapped in the blanket of your own comfort, you are actively filming a tragedy of drifting. You are just rolling the cameras on the slow expiration of the ideas in your waiting room. But when you finally send that scary email, when you force yourself to study for just 10 minutes, when you consciously choose to extract value from a mistake and fall forward, you are stepping directly into the director's chair. You are filming the gritty, messy, triumphant montage of your own comeback. Every single day, you are the director. So the question the source leaves us with is, what genre are you choosing to direct today?
That is a phenomenal lens through which to view your day. You are casting a vote for your own genre. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We want to remind you that no matter what your number on that scale is right now, no matter how long you've been sitting in the waiting room, your story isn't finished yet.
It is not too late to change the script.
Keep anticipating the hard moments, keep clawing your way back with purpose, and whatever you do, keep falling forward.